Welcome to the Reddit library. Serious in the heat of anger. What was the worst decision you've made? What were the consequences? Serious replies only so you're angry. You make a bad decision, then what? Car broke down for the 20th time. Barely made it back into the driveway. No money for repairs. Angrily kick the rear of the car, smashing the tail light. Yell at my own stupidity and throw the keys far into the tree line. Immediately have to go find them because my house keys were also on there. Gets mad, does something stupid. Got him. Why did I do that? Gets mad, does something stupid. Telling a judge whatever. Duck this court in the city of Richmond. Consequence: 30 days in jail for a contempt of court charge. Edit: Richmond, Virginia, to be clear. On a list of things not to say in court, that would be right up there. That and calling the judge a man-part. My roommate's patient did that apparently. Honestly, I think I'd just laugh if I was the judge. Man-part? I believe he was censoring the word man-part. You can't say man-part on YouTube. Punched a cop in the nose and broke it. It was instinctual. After having a ducking horrible day coupled with some creepy ducker following me for 4 blocks. I thought it was the creeper, not the cop I hit, when I felt a heavy hand on my shoulder. The cop was freaking out on the ground and his partner pulled his gun on me, yelling to put my hands up. I had to explain why that mistake happened. Worked 0k, but had to go to the police station to explain my story. Found out the cop was about to ask me if I noticed my wallet was about to fall out of my pocket. Ends up with the broken-nosed cop saying it was 0k and that it would be let go if I bought him the burgers he was on his way to get. His grin was comedy gold. Ended up buying burgers for the whole department. That was expensive. Edit: yeah, I was really lucky. This happened when I was 18 and I'm 21 now. If it helps, white as can be. For a broke college student, over $250 for burgers is a bit steep. I'm just happy it all ended on a positive note. My parents don't know, and probably never will. Thank God, or whatever other deity. Let's go with Odin. Thank Odin. Beats doing time for assaulting an officer, and certainly cheaper than your lawyer's fees would have been trying to defend yourself against it. When I was 9, I worked at a summer camp as a sort of supervisor of a group of counselors. There was an event coming up, and I had wanted to take a day off in order to attend. My boss insisted that it wasn't possible for me to take the day off, so I decided to call in sick because it pissed me off. Now, knowing that I would need a note from my physician, I actually went to the doctor the following day. My normal doctor was not in, and a nurse practitioner was filling in. She did a pretty thorough exam, poking and prodding my stomach and asking if it hurt, etc. I probably reacted in a couple of areas trying to sell my illness. At this point, she recommends that I visit the ER because she believes I may have appendicitis. This means a better doctor's note, right? I'm in the ER. My entire family is there at this point. They're having me drink the barium milkshakes to prepare for imaging to see if I need to have an appendectomy. I have to drink 4 of these things over an hour. I'm on my last one and the ER doc comes in and tells me he's going to have the surgeon come in to chat, knowing that they are going to take these pictures and everything will be fine. I'm not concerned. Well, the surgeon comes in after I've finished the last drink. He says that he can see I'm in some pain, still selling it, to which I explain that we are going to take some pictures to see if it's legit, which will turn up negative. He then explains that he doesn't need the pictures and we should just go to surgery now. 10 years later, I'm appendix free, and to this day still haven't told my family. TL. Doctor, I faked being sick to get back at my boss and now I don't have an appendix. Edit. Wow. Thanks for the gold. Got into drunken fight with wife, drove off angrily, crashed into tree, spent a long time in intensive care, almost died, face permanently disfigured. My mom's husband did this while we were camping. He drove away drunk, abandoning us in the woods. Except he didn't suffer injuries. The tree was in a national park and he did time in prison. My older sister was teasing me mercilessly when I was about 8 years old. I was stewing over it for about an hour and decided that the best revenge would be to destroy her favorite blanket that our mother had made by hand. One for her, one for me, cut from the same cloth. I grabbed her blanket and a pair of scissors and proceeded to cut the blankie to ribbons in front of her. She started laughing hysterically, which was not the reaction that I expected. I looked at what was left of the blanket and saw my initials on it and realized that I had mistakenly destroyed my favorite blankie. To be fair, there was still a lesson to get out of this. Lesson: don't act out of anger, you get sloppy. Act out of cold, calculating malice instead. Not myself, but my dad used to have a serious drinking problem. One night, when I was in high school, I was driving home from work and the town I lived in was very small. I ended up driving behind a truck that I was pretty certain was my dad's. Now I should add that I was driving with my brights on because one of my headlights was messed up and it wouldn't turn on without having the brights on. Well, I'm driving home thinking how funny it is that I ended up behind my dad when he slows down and comes to a complete stop at a curve where I couldn't get around him. I was very confused. He gets out of his car and starts screaming at me from his car. He is calling me all sorts of names and grabs a Frosty from Wendy's and throws it at my car. He ended up throwing it so hard it dented the middle of my hood. I was absolutely terrified. He had gotten mad like this before, and I seriously had no idea what I had done to piss him off. He starts walking towards my car, and even though he was a good distance away, I could see the look of rage in his eyes. I was physically shaken, so much so that I couldn't even manage to cry because I was so terrified. Turns out, my dad had gotten into an argument with a guy in the Wendy's parking lot who had a similar car, and since I had my brights on, he couldn't tell it was me, not to mention he was probably drunk. When he got to my door, I assume he planned on grabbing the dude out. He just stopped frozen. He got back in his truck and drove away. When I got home, he walked into his room, grabbed a bag, and left to stay in a hotel and start getting help. He couldn't look me or my mother in the eye. I was playing chess with my mom. I was in my elementary school's chess club at the time, so I thought I was pretty hot crud. I was 10 however, and she was an adult, so she was beating my butt without effort. I was a small man parthead, so it didn't take long for me to reach my 10-year-old boiling point. In a fit of misplaced child rage, I picked up one of her knights, and I bit it. It was a cheap plastic set, so I managed to take a chip out of it. The knight remains chipped, and to this day, whenever I get upset about something, mum just says, "Don't bite the pony." The knight remains chipped, and to this day, whenever I get upset about something, mum just says, "Don't bite the pony." That's hilarious. Your mom sounds fun. Around when I was 9 years old, my older sister was always a bit of a bully to me. At the time she had a broken leg and was using crutches to get around. While walking down the stairs, she hit me with one of her crutches. Apparently at the time I had had enough of her crud, so I turned and kicked both her crutches out. Halfway down the staircase, she fell down about 9 stairs and probably had to keep the cast on her leg for another few months because of that. Edit. For clarification, my sister was, and still is, a nasty woman. Edit 2. Wow, thanks for gold. Glad I could make someone's day. Bet she learned her lesson though. Surprisingly enough, now me being 19, she is still a runt. Kick her down more stairs until she learns. Disclaimer. I'm a really bad person and you should probably not take my advice. I was probably around 12. My older sister had a friend over and was being really mean to me. She was in her room with the door shut, so I took some string and tied her doorknob to mine across the hall so she couldn't open it. Of course, right after I did that, she knocked a bottle of nail polish remover onto a candle and lit her carpet on fire. Yes, I cut the string. No, they weren't hurt. Her friend actually told her to stop being so mean to me. But the next time I'm 12 and upset, I'll remember that teenagers aren't very responsible with fire. I really thought that was going in a really bad direction. Not me, but my brother Hope the entertaining story makes that 0K as a submission. So my brother is a rageaholic, especially when playing Xbox first person shooters. He has thrown and destroyed about 5 or 6 Xbox 360 remotes. These things range from $50 to $60 each. He doesn't buy off-brand knockoffs. One night, during a peak of extreme intensity, he was moments away from smashing another remote. Hand raised in the air, ready to be smashed to the ground as hard as possible. Suddenly, a brief lucid thought crossed his mind. Perhaps I shouldn't do this. It's going to cost me another $60 if I break this remote. But, rage overflowing, hand already in the air, all he could alter about the decision in that split second was to smash the remote down onto the couch instead of the floor. Well, it just so happened that he had placed his brand new iPhone on the couch earlier before starting his gaming session and completely forgot it was there until the moment the remote made a shattering contact with it. This of course triggered some sort of super rage. I tried to not break my remote. How could fate do this to me? I believe is a semi-accurate paraphrasing of his thoughts. With super rage mode activated, the obviously logical course of action was to kick the 50-inch projection television as hard as he could. He put his foot right through the screen, decided to get blackout drunk, and woke up to a destroyed living room with a shattered iPhone and destroyed TV filled with vomit. He vaguely remembers laughing as he threw up into the hole in the Xbox remote was fine though. Edit. I should add this tidbit. He was around 30 years old when this happened. We are roommates. Throwing my phone because I was arguing with the Lenovo customer support about the warranty on my broken laptop. The phone hit the TV, which cracked the screen on the phone and TV. Now that I'm using Internet Explorer on the library computer, I regret everything. I can totally see that happening because phones are just so perfect for throwing in anger. I can't even remember all the times I got upset after a conversation and then just threw the phone on the table until it bounced back one day and cracked the mirror. Whenever I'm angry and I want to throw my phone, I look around the room, find the softest thing, and gently toss the phone on it. Believe it or not, this does not help and may actually increase anger. At least it gets the phone away from you, so it's not in as much danger if your anger escalates even more. I was eating some tuna after having a very bad day. My younger brother kept teasing me for something I don't remember now and wouldn't shut up after I told him to several times. All of a sudden I snap, grab my fork and launch it at him. Fork hits him in the head. 5 seconds later blood starts coming out of his head with increasing intensity. Consequences? A lesson. If you are having a bad day, don't take it out on others. Especially your family, which is the only group of guys that really give a crud about you. Plus for life scar on his head. My first boyfriend threw a bean at his cousin at his 8th birthday party. She retaliated by throwing a fork into his eye. He had to have his lens removed and his pupil expanded to fill his entire iris. Despite being partially blind in that eye, he had a great sense of humor about it. He finally was able to get surgery to fix it. When he was 18, eye surgery seemed even more traumatic than the original injury. Edit. Changed to partially blind. He was legally blind. When I was 14, my dad forgot to pick me up after school, and he told me to find my own way home. I walked approximately 8.5 miles to get to my house. Then he wouldn't let me in. I was so angry I went to my neighbor's house. Kid in the same grade as me lived there, Mike, and when I told him what happened he said I could come in. He had an older brother who smoked cigarettes and weed. I had never before smoked, drank, etc. But I was mad, really mad. We stole all his crud, got high and smoked all night in Mike's bedroom. Consequences. 11 years later, still smoke cigarettes, dealing with cancer. Worst decision ever. All because I was angry with my dad. Why wouldn't your dad let you in? What the duck? Well, he said he just forgot and he just really didn't want to come get me. I don't really know why he wouldn't let me in. The door was locked, and no matter how hard I knocked or how many times I rang the doorbell, he wouldn't even come to the door. I'm over it now, but at the time I was furious and miserable at the same time. I never really found out why, however. It was really out of character for my otherwise wonderful father. When my sister and I were much younger, we fell out, argued, for, probably, the very first time. She was just old enough to be trusted to walk around the house on her own and stuff, and I'm about 5 years older than her. We fell out, I can't remember what over, but, shortly after, she came back into the room we had been in. She was in tears, and holding a piece of paper. It was a picture of me, and her holding hands and the words, "I'm sorry." I ripped it up in front of her eyes, threw it to the ground, and left the room. I'm sure she doesn't remember this, but it still gets to me this day. We get on as well as two siblings possibly could nowadays. I reckon if I asked her she wouldn't have a clue, but I'll never forget looking at her as she welled up right in front of me. Edit. Guys and gals, thanks so much for the recognition. Obligatory Oscar award winner like speech imminent, and thanks for the Reddit gold. I've just been into my sister's room. I asked if she remembers. She didn't. I told her all about how it plagues my mind. She laughed it off. She's cool like that. It's made me feel a lot better getting the closure, and, by the sounds of things, many of you guys also seek this kind of closure. I've been reading down here, and there's a lot of you with much worse things plaguing your mind. Seriously, ask. Get the closure. It's comforting. Again, thank you for the gold. That's so sad. I have a lot of guilt about being mean to my little sister. I also hope she doesn't really remember it.